appointment is changing. Do I have to do virtual? Do I have to come into the appointment? Can I reschedule? Alrighty. So this came up this week because we live in Texas, and with the Arctic River or atmospheric river or whatever they call it nowadays, with all the climate changey stuff, it got really cold, and then it rained, and then it froze, and so we've been stuck in the house for the last 3 days because in this particular neighborhood, there's lots of hills, and ice and hills don't really go well together, and so I can't really get out of the house, and so Texas is notorious for having tens of billions in surplus, but apparently no way to actually clear roads or do anything meaningful. And so as a result, a lot of folks were stuck at home or couldn't get to their appointments. And so we had to make the executive decision to not be in the clinic and to notify everybody. And you would think that it's really easy to just make that call, but y'all, oh man, it's not easy because there are 5 doctors in the practice. Everybody practices on different days. Everybody has a different philosophy about virtual versus not. All of those doctors also have patients, some of whom love coming in to where we office, because where we office is so soothing and healing, and they just prefer in-person appointments. And so if you're going to make a call, it feels very much like a school district or a hospital, oh my gosh, let's consult the weather and the climate shaman to see, is it just going to be one day? Is it going to be multiple days? How do we phrase it? And so making those decisions we do not make those decisions lightly. And then just logistically, some people, again, y'all, really hate virtual appointments. They're just like, nope, I'm not interested. And so we have a clinic policy where if you don't cancel in time, we actually penalize you. Well, call it an act of God or whatever. We don't want to penalize people for something that's beyond their control. And so, we waive the fees if you want to reschedule, but rescheduling in a clinic like ours means that there's really no spots for, 3 to 4 weeks, because we're almost all backed up and booked out for 3 to 4 weeks. So we have to figure out where to put people and then send in refills and then send messages to say, hey, are you okay? And some people have waited months for that appointment. I mean, y'all, it's a lot. And so one thing that we always ask is for your graciousness. And so anytime your doctor calls or your doctor's office calls and says, hey, the doctor's sick, or hey, we're going to change something up, show as much graciousness as possible, because it is equally hard for us to manage any major changes. Ideally, we would love to fulfill the promise of whatever we promised you, and do so with lots of attention and lots of presence. And so, I appreciated everybody who was very patient. I appreciated everybody who stepped up, all of my staff who stepped up to make sure that people were safe. And then we had to, we were trying to guess as to how long things were going to happen. So, that was Tuesday, Wednesday. We were like, okay, hopefully we'll be back in the office by Thursday. And of course that didn't happen. And so we had to send out another notice. And that's the other thing, y'all, email fatigue is real. And so I hate having multiple messages go out to your inbox, because your attention is important to you. And I don't want to have to be taking any more of your attention than I need to. And so, so just gauging the number of messages, how we word the messages. So hopefully everybody got what they needed to be nice and stable. They got where they needed to go or not go. But those are some of the behind the scene logistical things that can be an absolute nightmare for practices. And so, shameless plug, that's what Simply Psych does. Simply Psych is a practice management company that when all hell breaks loose and you have to reschedule everybody and send in forms or update forms or send in refills, or that's what we do. And so our team is awfully professional and awfully competent. And so they did it with grace and aplomb. And I want to thank all my patients and all the patients in the practice for doing the same thing. So if you just happen to be listening to this podcast and you run a private practice and you don't want to have to be rescheduling people in the wintertime, then you need to give us a call. Or check us out on our website. Hooray!